3 years ago we engaged a landscape architect to come out to Jibbon and with Land Council and Aboriginal community members, and we looked at different designs, and then we came up with 3 designs that we gave to the Land Council that they put out to the community, and then from that one particular design was chosen. So then it was basically a matter of doing all the paperwork, the REF, and getting things signed off and doing an archaeological survey to determine that there was nothing where the boardwalk was going to go that would come to harm. Yep. And then actually going and getting funding, and fortunately the Royal Coast Track became a priority for the government, and part of the Royal Coast Track is the Aboriginal engravings, and it's a significant spot for people to come and walk to and have a look at and learn about culture. And so that's where we got the funding from, which was fabulous because it was something that has been on the agenda for, like I said, for over a decade, and finally we were able to put it in place.
We had to look at a series of parameters, which were we couldn't construct anything on the outcrop itself. We couldn't actually fix the element into the rock itself or into the surrounding rock. So we had to take on a very careful engineering and landscape architectural approach so that the whole element would sink back into the site but would enable people to walk on it. It was a question of looking at options, effectively. We had to look as to whether we were going to have a series of a long platform with a series of viewing areas off it. We looked at the option of having sort of two boardwalks with a tower in between, so you'd actually ascend up to a higher level. And what we ended up with and what got approved was to have us at the higher level, but to sort of have steps coming up either side and then a continuous walk in between, with one large gathering area in the middle, which we had established was the best vantage point for seeing the group. In construction terms, quite a remote site. Access to the site was extremely difficult by vehicle because the approaches are all on sand to an outcrop position close to the coast. So it's very difficult to bring vehicles by land across. So we had to think of a system that would be airlifted in by helicopter as a structural system, which means it could only be of each element could only be of a certain weight. So using that premise, we worked backwards to work out a construction methodology. And we also had to consider the fact that we couldn't place footings into underground, so we couldn't have subsoil footings, as we call it, because we had adjacent outcrops that were of significance. So we had to come up with a structural system that would be footings set on ground and would actually work with the weight of the structure itself, would create the necessary counterpoint, if you like, to the ground through the surface footing. So we had to come up with effectively a very sophisticated technical structural system made of steel, which was lightweight, which could be brought in sections and assembled on site. And we had to think about the longevity over time. Would this withstand fire? Would this withstand the corrosion that comes from being in a salt environment, and have paint finishes and so on accordingly?
It was a fantastic project. It was challenging, interesting. It had all different types of facets of different things that you had to think about. We had deadlines and milestones to achieve, and we got there, and it was really good. And the end result, I think, for me, people keep saying to me, are you happy with the end result? I'm happy if the community's happy, because that's what the project was all about, was to make the community happy and to protect and conserve those engravings into the future.